I everything that's in like the mainstream media arena, and as tragic as a lot of these events are, I'm really, I'm really going sort of deep down into the rabbit hole now, into the metaphysical. I mean, I'm always searching to get to the root of the problem, and you go through phases and stages, as you know, don't you? You go through the political awakening, and then there's the spiritual awakening, and then I guess for me, the last kind of 6 months has kind of been a metaphysical awakening, um, and it really just started with my own story, whereby I mean, I'm always putting information out, but I actually made a vlog, basically aimed at the military, really just saying that they weren't heroes, and they were going off to war to fight for these people that just want more resources and greed and that kind of thing. And yeah, well, I didn't realise, but this went viral, and it went out to around 40,000 people, and it got into military circles. And I was getting like really badly psychic attacks. So I was getting death threats set to my inbox, and all kinds of mad stuff was going on, because the soldiers really don't like the truth. They want to continue to be seen as heroes. And what I learned later was that when someone actually, when someone says, I want you to die, or I want to kill you, that's, although I was over in Asia, that's actually an energetic attack, and it sticks on you. And I was kind of getting bombarded with all these, and as time was going on, like I could feel that there was something wrong with my energy. It just, I was getting all this anxiety, and I was, I just didn't feel right, and I felt like I had some kind of attachment to me. Through I knew it was related to that, and anyway, so I was trying everything. I was trying detoxing and meditations to try and clear this like smog that I felt like I was in at the time. I went to see one energy healer that did, so-called entity removal, and actually ended up feeling worse. So I think that, she was opening me up to more stuff. And I was in a bit of a mess, and, it was even difficult just to go out at the time without getting really anxious. And I thought, this is not me. And so anyway, I'd been working with a lady called Abigail Patman, and we were working to expose some of the satanic abuse that goes on, because unfortunately she was a victim of that, and she'd been on a journey of self-healing, and she'd gone through all the energy modalities to heal herself. And I was kind of telling her story, and then one day she contacted me, and she said, "Look, Tony, I've got this information that's coming through to me about the chakras, and how through the chakras these entities are actually attaching to people. It's almost like the plug." And I thought about it, and just straight away it kind of resonated. And the first thing that popped in my mind was the scene in the Matrix, where everyone's plugged up. And she just went on to explain that they're feeding on the emotions, our negative emotions, and looping them back into us. And that felt exactly what was going on with me at the time. No matter what I did, I could not get rid of these heightened anxiety, this heightened fear. And she said, "Well, I'm removing them along with other overlays that I'm finding out as well. Do you want this done?" And I was like, "Well, okay, I'm pretty desperate right now," and it all made sense. So anyway, so she done the work on me, and I felt quite a few sensations in my body, and the next day this cloud had lifted, and it was remarkable, really. And and then from there she said that I need to teach you how to do it. So I've been on this journey of learning that the manipulation just goes so much deeper than what we're seeing with play out on the physical arena, and with politics, and even in the occult side of things, which which we're led to believe is where all the answers lie. There are a lot of answers there, but it goes so much deeper. And what I'm finding is this whole new age or new cage arena, where we're taught just to accept negative things, never get angry, and just, you know, even what people are actually channeling, the depths of what they're channeling, because what's going on is that you know, these energy healers and Reiki healers and etc., that while they're still plugged in, they are potentially channeling these entities in the fourth dimension that are masquerading as false white light, be it angels or aliens. The fourth dimension is full of these entities that are basically working for the dark, and they're coming through healers. Not all of them. You know, there are some good, genuine healers out there, but, you know, shamans, healers, and you just realise that, God, how deep does this rabbit hole go? It goes so much deeper. And so I've been really delving into that, and we're coming across some really amazing information about not only, you know, how the chakras are part of the whole manipulation and deception, you know, these spinning vortexes, these lotus flowers that we've been sold that are supposed to be so great for us, and, you know, they make them look really beautiful with the rainbow colours, and, you know, what they've made, in my research and my experience, they've made the most evil thing look the most beautiful. And so really I'm just trying to get people to open their minds as to, you know, how deep this rabbit hole goes, and you know, that it goes much deeper than what we see and play out in the media and even the alternative media. You know, there's not much alternative media. I know you do. I've had a look on your YouTube channel, Alex, and you delve into these topics, and I think it's really important that we do, because I don't feel at the moment we're really scratching the surface with where we actually need to go to solve all of this.
This is a great place to start. I think that we're covering a lot of things that we need to, and I have a strong feeling that we're kind of connecting. I reached out to you at a moment in time where it felt right, and it felt right to even do this on Friday, and here we are, energized by this geomagnetic storm. Maybe we can explore also other influences, metaphysical influences, that could be influencing our world. But I want to go back to your warning about fake channelers. And it's interesting because I think this happens to us, maybe more of us than we might know, to where we learn about what's going on and then we seek help from the first person that offers help to us. You know, hey, I heard that you're hurting. Why don't you join my online class? And I'm not here to put down other people's online classes, but I'm also seeing a critical mass, and where you're seeing it, others are seeing it, that there is a variety to the quality of the psychic self-defense information that we're being told. And so without getting into my story, I think that he gave me some decent tips on grounding, and I think that he gave me some decent tips on shielding, and maybe we'll talk about those things. An alarm bell went off for me when the instructions seemed to have a string attached to it, which of course I'm going to identify as a cord. And, you know, I'm all about cutting those cords and not having any spiritual parasites. But what I realized was the issue was getting worse after the classes, not better. Yeah. And so the very person that was claiming to have removed something, and then he gave it quite a bit of description. And he said it was very much revenge with response to the media activism. And that's what actually got my attention when you started sharing that you were pushing back against some sort of an evil first. And then that sort of, do you want to go back to that again? It was something that you were doing regarding exposing the military?
Yeah, so it was exposing the military, and yeah, what these entities, they don't want people doing this. It's very interesting that, like you said before, people, they're unfortunately, we live in a world where there's so many damaged people, not just physical health, but mental health, You know, so many people are going through trauma and abuse, and there are just all these lost people walking around, and like you rightly say, they're desperate, and the new age is the perfect honey trap, because it's all love and light, it's all lovely rainbow colours, it's all angels, it's all healing, you know, and it's almost, you can feel, and I do sessions myself, and you can feel the desperation with some people, and you can see how people are being hoodwinked. And I'm not saying that every healer out there has got bad intentions, no way, but what I'm saying is that what is coming through those healings, and the advice coming through those healers, may well be not of that actual healer. It may be coming through from this false white light. And I mean, just to give you an example as well, I mean, it's propagated everywhere that, you know, exploring our consciousness, DMT, ayahuasca, you know, it's everywhere. It's fashionable. It's like the new craze. But actually, I dealt with a lady a few weeks ago. She had taken a DMT with her friend, and she, whilst in that state, what we call a level 2 takeover got into her. Now, a level 1 takeover is basically, you know, you see these people on that flacker drug that you have over there, where they're completely messed up and they really look possessed. So that would be a level 1 takeover. And a level 2 takeover is where the entity has got control over that person's, heavy control over that person's thoughts. You know, maybe putting in suicidal thoughts into that person. And she's saying to me, Tony, it's been a week and the thoughts going in my head, it's not me, this is something happened. And I said, yeah, you've got a nasty takeover in there. So what I'm saying to people is, we have to be really, really careful who we allow in our energy field to do work on us. We have to be very discerning. And I don't think, because people are so desperate, and it's not their fault, and they're looking for someone to help them, that perhaps they don't always show that discernment. And people are coming unstuck with this. I mean, my best friend, he was chucking thousands of pounds to a shaman here in the UK, over in Glastonbury, and he wasn't really getting much better, and he started to question it, and he even turned up one time where they told him that he had to have sexual healing with a lady, but he had to pay for it. and he's saying, well, that's prostitution. And this is the kind of stuff that's going on. And you know, you probably know Glastonbury. It's full of so-called spiritual healers and teachers, and you know, this is rampant everywhere. So, you know, we have to be very discerning and very careful, because there are these entities that are just outside of our visible sight, operating and working for the dark. I mean, that's how we've ended up in this mess as a species. You know, we were, human beings in our original form, were 10th dimensional, absolute geniuses. We were creators of universes. We were form beings. We weren't matter. But what happened was, we got deceived by these false light beings. We went travelling throughout the dimension, throughout the universe, and we met these false white light beings, and they deceived us. They introduced technology, and we got greedy. We started playing with dark matter, and we've descended, and we've carried on descending ever since to the current level of consciousness that we're at right now, which is, you know, more or less animalistic, which is probably a little bit of an insult to an animal. So they've been deceiving us for eons, and they're still doing it now. And this is really where I'm going with my work at the moment. I'm really putting it out there that, you know, this whole political illusion, yeah, it's important to be aware of that and what's going on with the manipulation of our food and what they're doing in the skies, and of course, you know, that affects us. But you know, getting to the root of this, we have to understand that it is a spiritual attack. We're in a spiritual war, And yeah, that's really what I'm trying to get across to people. And it's not even just the chakras. It's there are basically two books of overlays. If you could go on to Abigail, who's channeling this, is Abigail's Insight .com, and basically you'll see that the manipulations are huge. I mean, they've overlaid our universal life force energy by 50%, so we're only getting 50% of our universal life force. They've overlaid our nutrition, so we're only getting 50% of our nutrition. And when you consider that there is hardly any nutrition in the food, you're probably looking at 25%. They've overlaid our ability to meet our soul tribe and soulmates, people that we really vibe with, because obviously when we meet and connect with people that we really vibe with, we become stronger and we become a stronger force against them. Our astrological signs have been overlaid, so we're heavily influenced by our astrological signs. Now I'm a triple Scorpio, so my life's pretty intense, but we shouldn't be ruled by anyone, not even our star sign. But again, that's been propagated that there's something really great that, find out what your birth chart is and blah, blah, blah. And, all that really is a blueprint to see what kind of soul you are. It's like a barcode. And, the ones with the strong barcodes, the ones that are the game changers, they will then really heavily, through the interdimensionals in the fourth dimension and artificial intelligence through the nanotech, they will be heavily targeted because they've got the barcode, because they've got the soul, the blueprint of the soul coming down.
Hey, Tony?
Yeah,
There are various people that have tried to come to me in the past, women, with promises of healing, that it was really important to them, not so much to know the real Alex, but to know the birth date, to know the place, to know the hour.
Yeah.
And I noticed over the years hundreds of people that came out of nowhere. And I'll just be kind of brief with my own story, but as you're talking, there's just hundreds of thoughts that I'm having. But that is one of them. The shallowness that my intuition kind of had a alarm bell. We should listen to our inner senses. And sometimes people seem to be data mining for other reasons. So yeah, the constant asking of my birthday and the hour and the place, this has come up a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, it's when you realise everything's a lie, and then you go down this rabbit hole, and you realise, yeah, actually everything is a lie. But yeah, and it's quite tragic as well, Alex, because basically there are different kinds of soul types incarnated on this planet right now, and you've probably heard about the whole soul mill. What has happened, humanity is involved in basically a soul mill. So what's happening is we're dying, and then when we die, we're greeted by these false white light beings that masquerade as maybe Jesus or Buddha or a family member, whatever your thing was in your life, and they're telling you, come here, come to the light, and then people are going to the light, and then what happens is you get taken into this room and they sit you down and they say, well, you were a good person, but you did this, and this, so we can give you another opportunity to basically resolve your karma. And then obviously the person, because humans have empathy, they play on our guilt and that kind of thing, and then boom, we're back down on planet crazy for another session, where we're being fed like batteries, through the chakras, and where they're feeding on our emotions and our fear energy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's going on as well. But tragically, what is on a soul level, there's two types of soul. We have human souls and we have non-human souls. And the human souls have been caught in this soul mill for eons and eons, reincarnating lifetime after a lifetime. Now, what's happening at the moment, which is really interesting, is there are non-human souls coming down. Now, these are souls that are coming from like higher vibrationary planetary systems. They're coming down with like a higher knowing in their DNA. You've probably heard of like crystal children, indigos, rainbow kids. These are the souls that have volunteered now to come and help the planet at this time in its history to raise consciousness. Now these souls are very highly targeted because they, like I say, they already have that knowing, whereby a human soul might need to wake up and it might take them a lifetime to realise that actually things on this planet aren't right. These non-human souls are coming here and they know things are not right. They know from a very young early age, and they are very targeted. A lot of them have psychic abilities because they're a lot more source connected than the human souls. So what's happening, as I say, the system is so meticulous in its hijacking. It can see the blueprint of the soul coming into the body, and it's birth bumping the soul. So at the last minute, that soul will on a soul level, it would have chosen its family, but it's at the last minute being bumped into perhaps a dysfunctional family, a satanic, abusive family. So that non-human soul ends up very traumatized, perhaps turning to drugs, alcohol, homelessness, maybe even suiciding, and they end up not living out their purpose. So the depths of this is huge, and the idea is really to be aware of this soul meal and take ourselves out of that. That's the depths of what's going on.
So let's talk a little bit more about some of the deceptions in the New Age movement and spiritual teachings. So, I think that we always should keep an open mind to learning more with regards to protecting our psyche and building up our spirit as a defense. So I'm always listening to others on YouTube, and there are certain people, and I don't need to get into the negativity of mentioning their names, but there's a particular woman, and I've been observing the disinformation that she's been spreading and her popularity, and she seems to have maintained a link with the archangels as she purports to teach about psychic self-defense. So what I'm picking up on is kind of like this matrix that you talked about, where people are being given this, free healing information, but still being led back to either the archons, the archangels, or particular YouTube personalities that are maybe helping maintain that cord. In addition, since I was young, very young, when some of these things started happening to me, I remember what it was like to feel blamed, to not only have the experience of either the spiritual attack or the sucker punch physical attack as a adolescent 13-year-old, 14-year-old. And even to be told by my mother and her new age boyfriend at the time, and I believe that was disinformation that was being told to me, that it was my karma for being punched in the face. This type of kind of spiritual belief system I saw in the adult world as I began, to look more at certain things, and being from the city of Portland. The spiritualists there were very much into that in-the-box New Age type of, if something negative is happening to you, you brought it on yourself. Not to say that we're victims, but to say that I understand what you're saying about those that are bringing information that are attacked for doing it, having lived through that. So, I can tell you and the audience that this type of belief system is still very strong, that if negative things happen to someone, they deserve it. Now, this really seems to be a very detrimental way of looking at things, because in our Western society, right, when it comes to natural disasters, for example, or wars, their view on karma isn't so equally applied to themselves, in these changes that we're seeing. So I kind of want to throw this back in your corner, because it does seem like this is a really under-discussed element of conversation. Those people that are actually attempting to tell the truth, some people use the word Gnostic. They come under attack right now, in this particular time. And it seems that those that are presenting the alternative to the truth, even though they're alternative media, to go back into that corner, some of those people that are putting out disinformation, some of them are multimillionaires. And they're claiming that Google is censoring them. So we're having this conversation now right in the thick of a really weird transition in society, where in this plane of reality, those that are serving the beast system are still being rewarded. And those that are moving against the grain and trying to expose these wars are still being punished. And it seems that the alternative spiritual movements outside of religion aren't really addressing this. But hopefully these conversations that we're having is shining a light on an under-discussed issue.
Yeah, I mean, even that goes really deep as well. From my understanding, I definitely believe karma exists, and I definitely believe that what you put out, you get back. I've seen it in my own life.
Sure.
And I think, and people say, well, what about people in war and everything? Well, the way I understand it is that, we have our individual karma and we have our collective karma. So someone who's in Palestine, some poor soul that gets caught up in Palestine, they didn't choose that. That's what the new age will put out there. They chose that. No, not chose that. That's their punishment. Yeah, so that's their punishment to be born there because they had bad karma in another life. No, that's not the way I see it at all. What's happened is that person in Palestine is a victim of the collective karma of humanity. The collective karma of humanity, which has ignored the truth for so long, been ignorant, just accepted war like it's something normal, and the general immoral behaviour of us as a society. So it's like, you could be a really good person, Alex, which I'm sure you are, but you could still get thrown into a cage for growing a plant. Now, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person and you've got bad karma. It means that you're a victim of the collective consciousness, the collective karma of humanity, because we are still bound, although we are individual, we're still all connected, right? So it kind of runs parallel, I think. So the whole idea, the New Age idea that, these people, that's their punishment. Well, no, that's not correct. They are, unfortunately, the victim of our collective karma, of our ignorance and our apathy for years and years. But what is actually happening with these elites, because people say, well, what about them? Where's their karma? They are, the things they're getting up to escape karma are unreal. I mean, it's my understanding that during death, they have a way of, I don't know how they do it, but passing the soul into another body. So they are living lifetime after lifetime without realizing, or they think they're not going to be realizing their karma. They would rather work for the dark and the satanic agenda than actually die and face their karma. So I don't know how they're doing it. So some kind of rituals, things like that. But they are at the moment. They feel that they're escaping it. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's a really, really good question.
Okay, well, how do you view the elite in general? Those that are actually pulling the strings beyond just what we see, and how might that relate to what is going on here?
Well, the elite, basically, they're not really, they are who they are in the physical, but on a soul level, they have very dark attachments. They're not, they're not source connected. That's the difference. Human beings we are unbelievably, but we are still source connected. We do have that empathy. We do have that care, although we've lost it a lot. But these beings that are working through the elite, they are not source connected, and they can only survive on fear and negative emotions and that kind of stuff. So
I think it should be stated that they are seeking to make a mockery out of these ideas by saying that Alex Jones exposes these things. While this podcast isn't about him, many podcasts have about the deceiving nature, right, of either the healers or the activists or the revolutionaries, the counterfeits. And so the media says that people like him are the origins of such ideas, which is absolutely ridiculous. right? But if they
Yeah.
tell people that as they start waking up and they say that this monster man over here uh, is a person that is a purveyor of such ideas, then they won't want to go towards the healing of the greater knowledge of setting themselves free. That's just my speculation.
Yeah, and you know what, Alex? It's a good point because people just want a saviour. You know, they don't. They just want someone to wipe their backside. They don't want to be their own leader. And the whole idea, the whole lesson that we're here to learn is our own sovereignty. You know, don't give your power away. If you know, it's all about reconnecting with our true self and really growing up, learning to grow up. And you're absolutely right. You know, people that they're waking up from the illusion and straight away they're like, right, who can save us? You know, who can save us? Is it going to be Alex Jones? Is it going to be David Icke? Is it going to be you know, Bernie Saunders or whoever the politician, or is it going to be Jesus? Or it's giving our power away all the time. That is such a that when you give your power away like that, that is huge. And you know, that in itself, they actually feed off the energy of us giving our power away. That's an energetic blueprint that they feed on. It's our giving our power away. So what we need to do is really fall in love again with the word discernment, and that's what we're not doing. And even in so-called like truther circles, we're not showing enough discernment. You know, it's like here we have Russell Brand. I mean, he's a man who was married to a banker's wife, and Katy Perry, Mind Control, and you know, he rocks up here and he turns up with a sleeping bag at a protest and says a few things, and it's like everyone's looking at him to lead the revolution, and it's. I mean, he writes a book called The Pied Piper. I mean, how much more in your face do you want it to be? And we have to stop doing this. We have to stop just going along with people that are going to be presented to us. You know, just trust in yourself first. You know, does it feel right? Does it sound right? What's your gut feeling? You know, because we have two brains. We have the brain in our head, which is all about logic and reason, but we have our belly brain, which is much more wise. And if we start coming from our belly brain, which is your knowing and your intuition, rather than the head brain, then you know we're gonna be able to discern things a lot better. And that also comes back with sort of how damaged people are. People are beaten, like metaphorically speaking, they've been beaten down for so long that it's just a lot easier for them to look at these gurus and these politicians to come and do the dirty work. No one's going to come and save us, and the New Age will tell you that, like you know, the Galactic Federation of Light or aliens, they're all going to come down and take us away, and all our problems are going to vanish if we just ignore it. And you know, this is a lesson we've got to learn, and we can't run away from it. We each and every one of us has to realise our own sovereignty. I mean, if you're still voting, you have no idea of sovereignty. If you're still, you know, giving your power away to anyone, you don't know your own sovereignty, and that's what we have to rediscover. And it works in this realm. It works in the same in the fourth dimension and other dimensions. It's all about, you know, not giving your power away, even when you die. You know, it's don't go to that white light. You know, I wouldn't anyway. But you know, it's all about discerning and what feels true. And Mark Passio actually does some really good work around the trivium. I would recommend people to look at that. That's a literal way of how to discern. I don't know if you've heard about that, Alex, but...
Well, on that topic,
so, yeah,
I haven't seen that particular... I've seen his presentations. Let's see, on that topic, he talks about streetwise spirituality. So let's apply what you're saying right now to the lifestyles that many people are living. In today's day and age, in 2017, since the advent of the internet, many people have replaced their relationships with this website called Facebook.com. And since the advent of Facebook.com, I've really seen it function as a honeypot for healers, intellectuals, philosophers, but I've also seen the mental health problems that it brings. Psychic interference to people that are incredibly psychic and are enjoying, frankly, a medium that is linking up psychic energies. So there's a number of reasons why I've chosen, with my current level of sensitivity, to pull back from my own personal Facebook page, and I'm just going to be sharing information through my Facebook.tv page. I found this to be a necessary move several years ago, but it wasn't until I lost my online job, and I think that there was some interference that helped contribute to that between myself and the website owner. But I knew that when that website job came to an end, that it would be important for me to take my awareness to the next level and step back from that type of friendship replacement. Now, I'm not knocking everyone having a Facebook account. It's necessary. That's a great place to express your ideas. But I think I see a lot of people on Facebook, for example, offering to give people free healings to people they don't even know. Um, the psychic sensitivity, I had to step back. I have to step back from the thoughts that I'm reading from others. It is toxic. Too much pain, too much confusion, and a less than 1% ratio of anyone knowing anything about what's going on. And then the emotional pain on my part of sharing information and seeing the AI make sure that people don't see those posts. Seeing the posts that people interact with being of a lower vibrational, painful nature, with the classic Facebook crying face. Okay, and when the Facebook crying face emo, or whatever it's called, becomes a replacement for real emotion, that is another source of real sadness. The simulated sadness that seems to be running through the current, the artery of the electric beast. And it's a very unpopular position to say that Facebook is destroying real friendships. But it's something that I've seen do. It's only on a 1 to 3% ratio does it seem to create friendships. But if it does, that is for those organizations that are disciplined, that don't let Facebook replace their lives, but use it as a meeting point, a place to announce events in the physical, not just in the digital. So I have a very strong feeling, and I'm just open to your thoughts, Tony, that there's going to be an expansion of this psychic attack energy through social media in the coming years, or it could even be right now. Because I'm noticing an increase when we have solar flares in psychic awareness, psychic potential, as well as its impact on our electric grid. So if people are interacting more and more on Facebook as an electric stimulus method, and I've seen more and more people that are of a sensitive nature, a truly sensitive nature, not just clouded by archetypes, but truly sensitive to thoughts and energy. They're pulling back from Facebook because of the interference. Have you heard of this from other people?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook's kind of like a necessary evil, isn't it? I mean, you're trying to raise awareness, you're trying to get to people, although the censorship is through the roof right now. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I've been banned on my main account God knows how many times now, and I'm on my second account at the moment, and the algorithms, so the posts are only getting out to people that are aware of stuff anyway, so it's quite frustrating. So then you have to post in groups to try and get your message out, which is time consuming. But yeah, I mean, we live in an age where people live their lives online rather than on in the real, and you see all these like the couples that are really happy on Facebook, and then you meet them and they're arguing, they're at each other's throats. So people can kind of be anyone on online, and yeah, you're right, we have to be careful. You mentioned the psychic attacks. That is definitely going on. I experienced it myself, like I said to you before, with all the attacks and the threats, and it also works both ways as well, because I read somewhere that when you get a like on a post or something, it kind of releases endorphins
Mm-hmm.
in your brain or something. And is that why the society we live in is just really narcissistic due to social media. I mean,
Well, we're talking about
Instagram.
psychic defense from energy vampires on one level, but I think part of that is learning healthy behaviors to not become an energy vampire. And I'm really starting to suspect that a big problem now is that people are learning to become energy vampires through the misuse. So I'm not labeling Facebook highly negative or positive one way, but what you're saying right now, let's say that I put up something painful. Hey folks, I got my finger chopped off today. Life really sucks. And I'm starting to notice now that that's generating a lot of attention. Um,
Yeah.
but if I put something else out there or something really positive, but it's feeding on the emotion through the digital box. And
Yeah.
people are developing these unhealthy means of Facebook being the go-to place for our emotional highs and lows. And I'm reaching a point now, and I'm just trying to mention this to others because I think it's contributing to some of the psychic attack problems. If, for example, in some of these articles where they don't address what we address, right, the spiritual part, they're just simply discussing Facebook as a source of misery because of the jealousy emotions from what people are seeing. And I think it's healthy for us to embrace certain things, certain knowledge about ourselves, and learn from it instead of letting the ego get in the way. So I'm reading this going, absolutely. Here I am looking at all these beautiful women that are thousands of miles away from me, that act like they care about my posts, but yet I'm the one living off grid in the middle of nowhere. Does this seem healthy for me to give them any energy, even as much as looking at my picture or any interaction? How much sense does it make when it actually has nothing to do with us changing the world as it is, and everything to do with these cheap little highs and lows of poking each other?
Yeah.
I think it's something to study. I mean, the positive impacts, but we can positively impact the internet in general by thinking outside the box of Facebook. So I'm thinking like the internet is really, really powerful, really powerful. But it's like we get duped into putting our energy in certain corners of the internet and then being taught we're affecting things when we might actually be on a hamster wheel, having our energies as healers and teachers siphoned on those mediums.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally. It's very much like that. It's a double-edged sword, and I've experienced it myself. You talk about psychic energies. It's like you say, if you post something and which is slightly controversial, and you get a load of kind of negativity and stuff, it can affect your mood, and the opposite as well. I see it with myself. It is something that we need to be really careful of. It can lower your vibration.